we're going to go over a core exercise called the McGill Curl Up. This is one of the safest and most effective core exercises out there. But, and this is a big but, that's only in the case if you do it properly. This exercise requires much more focus and intent in order to get the most out of it. Unfortunately, many people see this exercise, try to do it on their own, and claim that they don't feel anything. So they go back to doing their sit-ups and their crunches, stuff like that. However, the reason why those people are not feeling it that much is because they're missing a few crucial form cues that make this exercise so effective. See, most people like to do sit-ups and crunches because they can feel their abs burning after a bunch of reps. It's a pretty foolproof exercise. However, there are two main issues with crunches and sit-ups that the McGill Curl Up solves. The first is that research has shown that repetitive spinal flexion under load, aka crunching your spine up, may cause short-term and long-term damage to your intervertebral discs. Now, we're talking hundreds of thousands of reps under load, stuff like that, before actually hitting a failure point. But why would you push your luck? Anyway, these intervertebral discs hold fluid that act as cushioning between your vertebrae. So if you flex your spine too much and too hard in one direction too often, you may end up with something like a herniated disc or a bulging disc. Trust me, you do not want that. So how does the McGill Curl Up prevent that issue? Well, you'll see here that a proper rep involves minimal to no spinal flexion at all. My lumbar spine remains in a neutral position, and I'm not crunching my spine to raise my torso up. McGill Curl Ups also require you to have one leg flat on the ground and the other bent at the knee. This is so that your hips don't tilt forwards or backwards too much, which can create more unwanted spinal movement. Essentially, it sets your hips in a better position and allows you to focus more on your core. You see, sometimes when people do this exercise wrong, they actually might feel their lower back working, which is not what we want. The second issue with sit-ups and crunches is that they only work your abs by flexing your spine. However, spinal flexion is not the only movement that your abs can do. In fact, your abs are mostly meant to be worked isometrically to stabilize the spine, transfer force and power from lower to upper body, and also move rotationally. So by only doing crunches and sit-ups, you're not strengthening your abs in a very transferable way. You're only hitting one of a few different ways that your abs work, especially if you're doing this exercise for lower back rehab. People with low back pain tend to have either extension-based pain or flexion-based pain. And doing crunches and sit-ups can irritate or cause pain in people with flexion-based back pain. On the other hand, the McGill Curl Up will actually hold your spine in a neutral, safe position. It likely won't hurt if you do it properly, and it allows you to isometrically work and stabilize your abs. This transfers over really well to real life. Now, when I say real life, I mean day-to-day activities. Walking around, grabbing things, lifting things, twisting, turning, that type of stuff. McGill Curl Ups, on the other hand, can add both strength and endurance to your abs. The resistance can be varied to increase strength, and the time under tension can also be increased or decreased to focus on abdominal endurance. This is how you do a proper rep. Lay down on your back, flex one leg so your knee is at a 45-degree angle and the other one is straight on the floor. Then put your hands underneath your lower back to give some support to maintain a neutral spine. Raise your elbows off the ground. Now this part is optional, but it makes it one step harder on your abs. Then take a deep breath and brace your abs. Pretend like someone's gonna kick you in the stomach. You're going to brace and squeeze your abs hard. Don't let go of that. While maintaining the braced core, you're going to raise your head and shoulders completely off the ground about 1 to 2 inches. Hold this for 5 to 10 seconds and exhale throughout that time. If you want to make this harder, you can raise your elbows off the ground as well, so you can't push off the ground with them. This puts even more of your body weight onto the abs, therefore making them work harder. On the other hand, if you want to focus more on endurance, you can do longer reps. Let's say 10 to 15 seconds or whatever you can handle. Now, if you want to make this a little bit easier, a slight regression would be keeping your elbows down onto the ground. This is because your elbows can push into the ground, thus alleviating a little bit of the tension that would otherwise be on your abs. However, it still makes the exercise very effective. it does not mean that your abs are not working. You'll still feel them. This is just an alternative if you can't do a proper rep with your elbows up, or if you feel your neck too much during this exercise. Oh yeah, and one more thing, make sure you're exhaling. You can hear me exhale as I'm doing this. Common mistakes. Do not curl your head up too high off the ground. This takes tension off the abs and puts it on your neck. If you don't feel your abs, but you feel your neck, try the following 2 things. 1, make sure that your head is only 1 to 2 inches off the ground. 2, push your tongue to the roof of your mouth for the duration of the rep. This may decrease the amount of work that your neck does. If you still don't feel your abs, have someone watch your form to ensure your entire head and shoulders are coming off the ground and holding it for 10 seconds. And making sure that your head and shoulders are not coming too high off the ground. If you think about it, that's a lot similar to a crunch, and the higher up you go, the less work your abs have to do, because your torso and your head are a long lever arm. So if they're like this, it's not going to be as much work on the abs. It's easy to think you're doing something right until you have someone watching you. You can also record your cell phone video. If you still don't feel your abs and continue feeling your neck, this exercise may be too hard for you at the moment. Your neck tends to take over if your abs are relatively weaker than it should be. But that's okay. There are other exercises that will help you increase your strength to get to the level that you need to be to do this exercise. If that's the case, I recommend performing easier exercises until you build up that requisite strength. Isometric exercises like planks are a great start. If you learned something from this video, give us a like and a follow. Feel free to visit us at clearcutfitness.com and Instagram at clearcutfitness. Thanks for watching.